I was fortunate enough to visit Montenegro in February this year to go and visit a friend who very bravely has managed to escape Putin's Russia, and to have a little nosy around this pretty unknown country. I was based in Budvar. Now, Budvar is quite a big town with lots of high-rises and looks like it's being developed quite well. The currency in Montenegro is the euro. Prices of things were quite a lot cheaper. I would say almost 2/3 to a half cheaper than the rest of Europe, perhaps. I was based in Budvar and hired a car and went out exploring. To the south of Budvar is an island called Philthy Phil, St. Stephen. This island has been an exclusive resort for many, many years. Marilyn Monroe, Burt Lancaster, Princess Margaret, even Queen Elizabeth II stayed there in the 50s, which seems quite strange as at that point it was part of Yugoslavia and was a communist state. However, this exclusive island, with its one gate to get on and a complete village, at the moment is closed. It was revived, I think, around about 2006 and was open until 2019, just before the pandemic, and has not opened since. The likes of David Beckham stayed there with its private beaches and secluded nature. But yet, quite strange that in the Adriatic, in a former communist country, you have this destination for the rich and famous. Unfortunately, we couldn't get on to the island. We could only go to its door and imagine what is behind the wrought iron gate which divides us from the elites that once stayed there. The beaches around Budvar are beautiful, with sand and rock, and the sea did look very enticing. However, February was a bit too cold even for me. I travelled down to a small fishing village called Petrad, which again had a small castle, medieval perhaps, late medieval, which now was converted into quite a Swiss restaurant, but again the prices were very good. Whilst my friend was working, I decided to go and visit Sintije, which is the old capital, which I think was the capital till 1919. Although the actual town seemed a little boring, little flat and wide boulevards, but somehow was a little bit lackluster, the museums did not disappoint. There are 3 museums there that I visited, which were all free: the palace, the Museum of Ethnography, and a museum within the old monastery. In the palace, there was opulence on display, with beautiful rooms laid out in a sort of European Baroque style. I loved the costumes in the ethnographic museum and could honestly see myself wearing some of the costumes that were on display. I have a particular penchant for sabres and shamshirs and shashkas, which are all variants of Eastern European and Ottoman sabre-like swords. So that was very interesting to see. My favourite object in the Museum of Ethnography was an ancient or medieval beehive, which just had particular fascination for me. The geography of Montenegro as you fly into Podgorica, the capital, is quite astounding. Very mountainous, lush valleys, but mountainous nonetheless, and at times quite sparse and bleak. South of Podgorica is a massive inland lake called Lake Skoda, which allegedly during the wars of the 90s was used to smuggle contraband from Albania, as it shares a border with Albania. The people were most welcoming, a very different people, I would say, to other Mediterranean destinations, Slavic in nature. The food was quite a mix of Mediterranean and Slavic food. I went to several ordinary working people's restaurants, which were cheap, good value and tasty food. On the coast there's lots of fish restaurants too. Budvar had a large population of Russians. It seems that Montenegro is a destination for those trying to escape the tyranny of Putin and his wars. I enjoyed my stay in Montenegro, and yes, I would go back. In the summer, it's supposed to be very hot in the 40s. So maybe round about May, June might be a very pleasant time to visit. If I went back, I would really like to explore the interior to the north. I'm intrigued by these little pieces of Europe which are still quite wild and interesting, where people live a simpler life. So on the whole, my experience in Montenegro was a good one. And yes, I would go back. I came back enriched from my visit to Montenegro. If you get the chance, go along, have a look, see what life is like on this small strip of Adriatic coast, which at the moment is quite unspoilt.
Montenegro,